Hello and welcome to your astrological vibrations for Tuesday, September 5th, 2017 by Gaia Blooming. I am Mimi, and our energy mantra for today is inner revolution is a vital part of the path of wholeness. And today, wow, we are building into the full moon. We actually have the full moon happening at 12:03 a.m. Wednesday morning. That's Pacific time. We have Mars shifting signs today. Mars moving from Leo, where it's been since July 20th, until now, until today. Mars moving into Virgo, and we have Mercury going direct. That may be the biggest news to some of you. Mercury has been retrograde since August 12th, going direct in the sign of Leo, and in just a few days shifting back into Virgo, where it did go retrograde. So, holy shifts, lots of shifty energies. I always like to pinpoint, what are we going to be feeling most? I think we're going to be feeling a lot of things. Although I do feel like chances are the thing we're going to be feeling the most is the full moon building energy. And just to get us started on that, I want to read the Sabian symbol for the full moon. So the full moon is happening at 13 degrees. We are in a 13-degree day today. 13 degrees, that's Uranus energy. That's revolution, evolution. Hence the energy mantra, revolution energy. And what I love the Sabian symbol actually. An ancient sword used in many battles is displayed in a museum. And the first line, when it talks, it discusses, what does the Sabian symbol mean? The first line is, willpower is the ultimate spiritual weapon. And what I really connect this with is the willpower of your soul. And, to me, the sword displayed in the museum, I keep seeing visions of the sword and the stone, that story of King Arthur. He was able to pull that sword out because that was his destiny. And so this, to me, is the sword and the stone, honoring your soul destiny, getting on that path, getting in alignment with that path in and through this Pisces energy, in and through this Pisces full moon energy. And full moons are so great. They are a time of harvesting, celebration. We're celebrating, we got through another month. And these are all the things that have happened over this next month, over this cycle. However, I also feel like full moons are a vital time for release, especially as it's in the final sign of the zodiac. Pisces is the final sign. And with this revolution, evolution degree, it's a great time for shedding those energies that are not in alignment with your soul path, with your sword in the stone, your destiny, your personal alignment. So letting that be at the forefront of your intention as you move through the day. I'm releasing with this full moon anything that no longer serves my soul path, my authentic path, my path to wholeness. It's powerful energy, use it. utilize this revolution, evolution that comes with this full moon. Besides that, let's get into some of these transits. So Mars into Virgo. This Mars into Virgo energy, I feel like it's just, you know what I feel? Wow, it feels like a really good transit. What I'm really looking forward to is a little bit later in the Mars transit, after the sun moves into Libra, we are going to have Mars and Venus coming together. It's so funny. I've mentioned I've been on the twin flame path, and one of the things that they talk about is the runner and the chaser. I don't completely subscribe to that because I think those are archetypes that we could fulfill. Don't necessarily have to. And I don't necessarily feel that they serve us to fulfill those, those paths. Although that's not true. Everything serves us in one way or another. But to purposely go about that, that person's the runner and I'm the chaser, don't do that. You don't have to do that. But what I think is interesting is it is kind of the dynamic of Mars and Venus. It is very rare that Mars is the one that's catching up to Venus. The only time that ever happens if Venus is in a retrograde. If she is in that cave period. Besides that, it's always Venus outrunning Mars. And Venus and Mars really do bring us the archetypes of the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine, or the feminine and the masculine, which we all have to some degree or another, always working to find balance within. Now, I like this because Virgo energy has been this energy where we are working with and to the energy of wholeness. And so, to me, it's like, oh, here they come. They're going to be coming together in Virgo, in this energy of wholeness, bringing some balance into our inner yin and yang. So, with Mars now in Virgo, keeping in mind the intention of wholeness, working towards the wholeness, working into wholeness, holiness, healing with your yang energy, that energy of honoring your passion, trusting the motivation of your passion, trusting the motivation of your soul, and getting past the ego motivations that sometimes capture us and can move us so much more than those heart motivations. We have spent all this time, and Venus is still bringing that balance by being in Leo. We've spent this time, though, getting past the ego and really listening to the heart. So now with Mars in Virgo, take that energy to heart to work with this energy deeper into your wholeness. This transit will be going through October 22nd. Actually, Mars and the Sun will be moving into Libra together. So that'll be powerful when that shift happens. But for now, keep in mind that path to wholeness and make your actions. I love when I do things like this. When I have a goal in mind, I often will be like, okay, I will notice my actions, whether it's eating or going out, exercising, talking on the phone, doing nothing, whatever the action of the moment is. I like to see, is this action moving me closer towards my goal, or is it something that's taking away from my goal, like moving me further away from it? Let that be kind of your motivating factor. This is my goal. My goal is this wholeness. Is eating this Twinkie moving me closer to this goal of wholeness? Is this moving me closer to this goal of healing, holiness? Or is it moving me away? And then, weigh your options. See what's right for you in and of that moment. Nobody else can tell you what's really right for you besides you. But let that be your dominant intent, moving you in this direction with Mars. Keeping that healing, that wholeness energy. Healing and wholeness for the young, for the action part of yourself, for that passionate part of yourself, and also recognizing the other side, that frustration side. The frustration happens when we feel that we're being kept apart from what it is we want. And so how can you work with that to move closer in it, to move into this goal, to pull your sword out of the stone and charge forward on your path of destiny? All right. So, Mercury direct. Mercury is going direct at 28 degrees Leo. This is the eclipse point, the birds on the limb of the tree. So don't worry about a thing, because every little thing is going to be okay. This eclipse has really extended and expanded itself through this. We will have Mercury at the 28 degrees for a few more days. It will actually shift out of Leo on the 9th. So we have this few more days of Mercury, our mental consciousness, working this energy, working our worth, knowing that we deserve our heart's truest desires, and hopefully bringing some more revelations from that eclipse energy. Now, Mercury direct, it does not mean that suddenly electronics and everything else, communications, are going to suddenly reverse themselves and be like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing, I know how to work. However, things do start to get better. We will be in the shadow period for a bit of time. I didn't look up the date that it officially gets out of the shadow. I forget. I knew at one point, but can't get it at this moment. But I'll let you know. It'll be a little bit of time. So give it the time to make its progress, but mostly keep focusing on joining the heart and the mind in and through this. Now, speaking of that, our other transits today really do focus on these lessons that are coming with the full moon. We have Venus in conjunct Neptune, 12 degrees. Neptune is 12 degrees Pisces. We have the moon conjunct Neptune at 12 degrees Pisces. That's happening right before the full moon happens. Like I said, the full moon is happening on early Wednesday morning. Technically, in Hawaii, it is happening on Tuesday. So, depending where you live. But for most of the world, it is happening on Wednesday. But this Neptune energy is a big part of this full moon. And like I said, this full moon in Pisces, it's a beautiful time for completion. At 13 degrees, it's a beautiful time for shedding what no longer serves, what needs to be released. And with these elements feeding in, Venus feeding in, Neptune feeding into the moon and the energy of the sun is at 13 degrees. I almost said Sagittarius. I got Sagittarius with mine. 13 degrees Virgo right now. It's a great time to look at your spiritual path, your soul path, the place where you know in your soul where you're going, and then where you're at in reality, right now where you're at, and what in between these two places, where they want to merge, where they want together for your highest good, for your sword in the soul path, where there are things that need to be shed, where they need to be released. What I'm having a vision of, it's so interesting. Grooming scissors, or even they have these scissors for humans too, but it's like one side's the blade. There's the blade on the one side, and then there's the other side that's like, I don't know what the right word is, but it's not a blade. It has just these things sticking up, and you kind of run it through the hair, and it helps shed, like for thick hair or for thick fur, it helps shed it out, and it sheds those things that are sticking up that aren't in alignment, that aren't even, and that's what I'm kind of seeing, like it's just shearing off these extra energies. Venus in conjunct Neptune. Venus is in Leo, in conjunct Neptune in Pisces. What are these relationships? What are these practices of self-love, or maybe not self-love, not quite self, maybe it's ego-love, that need to be shed and released so that you can expand? These meetings are happening at 12 degrees. That is that degree of expansion. It is the degree of the Trinity. So it does have this mystical God universe quality to it. I was going to say, God, goddess universe quality to it with the Trinity. It also can be, God the Father, Jesus, and Holy Spirit, depending on what your personal philosophy, where your heart moves with it. But the Trinity, it is an important thing nonetheless. And so it is made and built to help us expand. We must continue practicing that self-love energy. We must find the pleasure in loving ourselves, expanding our heart energy, and even expanding it to these things that must be shed. I think the best way to shed things is to bless it. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for the things that you brought me in my life. Thank you for the experiences. Oh, I'm finally showing you a card. Thank you for the experiences. Those experiences were great. I can let them go now. And that's, I think, part of this retrograde card, reverse card that I have is, yes, it is time to let go of these things that no longer serve. The moon conjunct Neptune. Now that's an interesting transit that's part of this energy. It is also in conjunct that Venus energy. And to be fair, it's a wide yod, but we actually do have Pluto feeding into this energy. It's wide. Pluto's at 16 degrees now. It has just retrograded back to 16 degrees. And so Pluto is within orb. It's like in a 4-degree orb with this yod energy, facing off with Venus, actually, pointing at Venus. What is true for yourself? What is true for your expanding heart path? Pluto's like, we can shed, we can release these things that are no longer in alignment. But that moon conjunct Neptune can get a little confusing. I remind you of the message of stillness that came through yesterday, and I have that here in existence. This is the Magician card, which to me, the Magician card is like abracadabra. As I speak, so shall it become. That's basically what abracadabra literally means that. That's what the Magician card is. So it's getting into that stillness, recognizing what you're speaking, recognizing what you're thinking, recognizing that these things do become part of what you are experiencing in your existence. Tapping in to your heart, to your passion energy. Here is the playfulness card. But you see this clown energy is leading with the heart, completely leading with the heart. That is how you want to lead in and through this energy. If you get caught up in your mind energy in and through this between the moon and Neptune, that is going to be very confusing. Very confusing. I don't think it will be so much guilt as confusing. Although guilt can come up. Sometimes when we shed the things that no longer serve, we feel guilt. But the thing is, when you are honoring your soul truth, when you are honoring your destiny, then you are working perfectly with the puzzle of the world. You are fitting in perfectly in the place that you've meant to come show up in. And so there's no need to feel that guilt because you're doing exactly what you came here to do. And as you do what you come here to do, you create the space for every other puzzle piece to fit in. You do not have to be the entire puzzle. You're just here being this piece, holding this space that you came to complete. So don't get wrapped up in your head. Don't get wrapped up in the guilt. Don't get wrapped up in the shoulds. Trust that it is unfolding, especially as you honor and listen to your heart in and through this. I do also feel that this is going to be a very intuitive time. The last card I have from Osho is the exhaustion card. And like I said, when I have messages coming through, when Spirit's doing work on me, I tend to get tired because Spirit's like, you think too much, we're going to knock you out so you don't analyze this so it can just come through and then you can understand it. So you may get exhausted with this full moon. A lot of times in the full moon I'm like, woo, let's dance, let's play. But this could be one of the more quiet, sedate full moons. It's going to be what you need it to be, but keep these intentions in mind as you move through it. 2, finish up. I love this. This reminds me of this existence card too. Lotus flower unfoldment. Your spiritual unfoldment is occurring at all times, whether or not you are aware of it. Put your trust in the hands of Creator, the one who holds the light. Like the lotus, your soul is always reaching for the light to fulfill its karmic destiny, the sword and the stone. But even in that process, there are periods of darkness, times to rest. It's a natural cycle, one that cannot be coerced or halted. It has an innate rhythm of its own, one that is unique to the puzzle piece being that you are. You don't need to strive or be driven by spiritual ambition. It does no good to try to force this growth upon yourself or others, for that matter. I think that's a really big key. You can never force others into their place. You can just keep stepping up into your place in this moment, here and now. Allowing is the key. Allow the place in you that naturally wants to follow the light to do so, while recognizing that even when you have complete faith, you will face challenges and occasionally suffering. Your steady faith and love will guide you on your journey of returning to the light. I think that's a really important note to make, is that even when you are following your heart, even when you are listening to your intuition, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be challenging times. And in fact, sometimes there are more, even so, because Spirit's like, oh, you've got this. Here we go. Come on, let's amp this up a little bit. Let's do this. It doesn't mean that you're bad. It doesn't mean that you're not doing good things. So don't let that make you question your path. Don't let it question your purpose and how you're working. Just keep holding that integrity, keep moving in truth from that inner being with this connection to wholeness at this time that we are focusing into. And trust, the universe is on your side. The universe has got you in and through this. So that is it for today. Tomorrow we will get more into this full moon energy, but have a beautiful build into this full moon, and I will see you tomorrow. Namaste.